What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Corey with Freaky Tall Reviews, where we do short reviews for tall people. Today I'm introducing a new playlist called Has It Held Up? I've had a lot of comments from people that are curious about how the products that I've reviewed have held up, and a lot of folks wanted follow-up videos. So that's what this playlist is completely dedicated to. And for the first video on this playlist, we're gonna be taking a look at the Chop Above cutting board. I reviewed this cutting board back in 2020, and this was even before I invented the Freaky Tall stamp of approval. So while I did recommend buying it, let's see if it holds up in 2022. So let's get started. Okay, so if you haven't already, be sure to check out the video where I reviewed the Chop Above cutting board back in June of 2020. This was like my third or fourth video, so the quality is pretty rough and not what you're seeing now. I've learned quite a bit about content creation since that video, but I still think the points that I'm making it are valid. And if I had to do it over again, I would probably say everything just about the same, except the quality might be just a little bit better. Even before the Freaky Tall stamp of approval, this was a product that I highly recommended. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what I liked about it originally and to see if that still holds up in 2022. The link to this cutting board will be in the description below. And if there's any products that I've reviewed in the past that you'd like to see a follow-up video on, then be sure to leave a comment below and let me know which ones you'd like to take a look at. Lastly, before we get started, I have a huge goal this year of hitting 10,000 subscribers in 2022. Over 90% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed, so if you enjoyed today's content, be sure to subscribe and share this video so others might join the Freaky Tall family. So the Chop Above cutting board has 15 inches by 9.5 inches of cutting space, and it adds 5.5 inches of height. But whenever you're storing it and it folds up, it's only an inch thick. And the reason that I originally took a look at this cutting board was because most countertops are way too low for me. So if you're cutting vegetables or doing anything in the kitchen, it's a real pain when your lower back starts to ache. And so when I originally got this thing, it was fantastic because when it increases your workspace 5.5 inches, that's pretty amazing. It's made of FDA approved, BPA free antibacterial plastic with a non-porous surface that doesn't absorb moisture or bacteria. It's also dishwasher safe, and it has silicone feet so that it doesn't slide around when using it. It does come in at $40 on Amazon, which seems like a lot for a cutting board, but I'll explain why I thought it was worth it at the time. And again, today we're going to take a look at, is it still worth paying that much for? So looking back at comments when I first released this video, there was a lot of concern about the stability of this cutting board. I tested the heck out of it by cutting tomatoes, a sweet potato, and then a really heavy watermelon. But even though it looks like it flexes pretty hard in the video, it didn't really have any issues whenever I set stuff on it. It's actually very, very firm, because I tried to make sure that when I was cutting stuff and when I was setting stuff on it, that I was really pressing down on it. And through that testing, it built a lot of confidence for me to use it. And so since then, I've not ever cut anything that aggressively or that heavy, and it's done completely fine. Never had an issue of feeling like it was gonna fold up under itself or collapse. When it unfolds all the way, and you can hear a little bit of that noise there, it locks in place really nice, and so it feels really sturdy. Now, just a second ago, I commented on the sound. When you first get this thing, it has an awful noise to it. After a few washes, that did finally go away, thank goodness. And now most of the time, it barely makes a noise whenever you use it. Now, I don't cook a ton, so I haven't used it every day, but after 2 years, I have used it quite a bit, and I've seen that it actually has held up pretty well. There's definitely scratches on the surface just from cutting into it. That's normal for a cutting board, but the plastic itself is holding up really well, and there's not any deep gouges in it. And like with the main point of getting this product, and every time I've used it, it has really alleviated the pressure on my back having to slightly bend over. And that's one of the biggest problems I have anytime I'm working in the kitchen, is that slight kind of bend over, where after you've been in that position for 10 to 15 minutes and then you stand back up, you're like, oh my goodness, it's so sore. So this helps a lot with that. One thing to also note, that even though it is a white surface, one of the selling points about this cutting board is that it's a non-porous surface, so it doesn't really hold stains. So you can probably see that there's a little bit of discoloration from food that I've cut on top of it, but really though, it still looks pretty clean and in good shape. Another feature about this cutting board that I found that was actually really handy, anytime I see bullet points on something that I'm looking at purchasing, I always try to look past the gimmick. Recent example, I just did a video on the Darwin X gaming chair, and it had an extendable footrest. This is something that I think the theory of is nice if you want to sit that way. However, it's very weak, it doesn't hold you very well, and it's kind of pointless at the end of the day. So that I consider a gimmick, but it was one of their selling points whenever you're purchasing the chair. With this cutting board, I expected it to be another gimmick where you can put plates or bowls underneath it while you scoop stuff onto it, but I have to say that it's actually super handy. You can fit up to a 4.5 inch bowl underneath this cutting board. And anytime I'm cutting something and I need to move it onto a plate or bowl, it's actually super handy, and I really like that it does that. Even if I didn't need it for the height, I would really like to have a cutting board that has the ability to do that easily. So almost 2 years later, here we are taking a look at the Chop Above cutting board. Is it actually worth $40? And does it get the Freaky Tall stamp of approval? Yes. I still highly recommend this cutting board. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't have the Freaky Tall stamp of approval around whenever I first reviewed this. However, it definitely gets it now. There's a couple of different reasons why I think it makes a lot of sense for a taller person to use this. Again, I'm 6'10", and so normal height countertops are a real pain. So that's the #1 selling factor for me, is the fact that it increases increases the counter height by 5.5 inches. And I have not found a lot of comparable products on the market. I've found some wooden cutting boards where you have to use individual legs to make it taller. I found some really thick chopping block cutting boards that are just kind of a pain to store and lug around. This is the only one that's easy to put away and also functions really well. The quality of the plastic is really nice, and I do think that you'll get a lot of life out of it. Anytime I recommend something on this channel that has a startling price range for what it is, I have to make sure that the durability is going to be there and it's going to be worth it in the long run. I do think that it is for the Chop Above cutting board. As I said earlier in the video, it is $40 on Amazon, so check the link in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. And I'd love to know your comments below on what you think about this cutting board and if it's something you might add to your kitchen arsenal. But that's it, everybody. It's a quick video on the new playlist where I'm going to be going through a lot of the stuff that I've reviewed in the past and re-reviewing it to make sure that it holds up and it's worth it. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon so that you see whenever those new videos come out. And it also helps me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. Also, be sure to check out my Instagram and my Twitter. These are two platforms where I release behind the scenes stuff going on at Freaky Tall Studios, and it's another way for me to engage with my audience. And then lastly, if you'd like to support the channel financially, be sure to head over to the Freaky Tall Reviews Patreon. I use these funds to help bring new products to the channel or increase the video quality of the channel. So if you want to help out in that regard, would love to have you there as well. But thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate your time and you stopping by. Again, I'm Corey with Freaky Tall Reviews. We'll see you next time.